Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today we are taking a look at River Run. That's right, River Run, one of my favorite maps, one of my favorite matchups here because it is a lane map, which does mean we get some action right off the bat. We get some paction right off the bat. Having a little bit of stroke here as we start up this game, but I'm really excited to see it. I'm always excited to see these games. This is going to be some pros showing the Joes in this one, getting real good at fixing these settings. Maybe it's going to become an actual thing one day. Maybe one day. I did get some confirmation in my stream Saturdays, by the way, in case you want to tune in. Gonna try and stream for a couple hours every Saturday. There will be an official announcement about that, but anyway, did hear from some other people that apparently I was not the only one to suffer from some sort of setting shenanigans that was happening. Really interesting spots right here. I am noticing for the Western team going to be led by Ace Babar. Ace Babar going to be coming in at 24 true skill, and the French flag to the chevrons to match. Is that the French? No, wait, that might not be the French flag. That might be a Polish flag. Ooh, I don't know. Somebody in the comments, get in there. Let me know. It's important that we have a final conclusion about that eventually, at some point. Will Brightworks.tv ever learn his world geography? Well, based on this American accent, you can bet your sweet ass I probably will not. But Ace Bavar here going for a windmill and metal extractor start straight into a vehicle lab. I think vehicles definitely have some potential here, although there's a lot more hills than something like, say, flats and forests. So vehicles are a little more sketchy, but still those blitzes are going to be just too strong to keep up with if you have anything short of, a metric butt ton of units. Anyway, spawning on the eastern side, coming in from, is it China? Coming in from our, representing our blue team, rather. We have Too Good for All, going to be our blue team leader with the vehicle lab here. And they as well are thinking about maybe getting some of those treaded menaces out and about on the field. Now, the Cortex faction does not have access to the Blitz. They have the Incisor, which is, it is, Now, the pro-level commentary, by the way, right there. The Incisor is rough. It is rough around the edges. It can do damage. It can do some good work, but it's definitely not the same as the Blitz. The Blitz is definitely a whole different beast in and of itself. Kind of similar to the way that the Grunts and the Pawns act, actually. There's a very similar status between those two. We are going to snipe this metal extractor. Very nice to see. And I think I'm going to have to award Merrick for winning our first unit out and about on the field award. Congratulations, Merrick. You've done phenomenally here. Really, really nicely done. Great stuff right there. Meanwhile, looks like we have more and more bots coming out on the southern side of this map. Silver Hornet going for that bot lab, as well as... Oh no, sorry, Rickybus is actually going for the vehicle lab, going for some of those BLITZs, those blitzes out and about on the field. Blitz, 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 blitz. They're going to start pushing in and causing mayhem, destruction, carnage, and... one more word. Mayhem, destruction, carnage, and devastation aplenty. There we are. Using all those years studying literature, studying English, the language which I speak, finally coming in helpful. That always confused me about the public high school system of the United States. You're forced to spend several years studying English, despite the fact that it is the language upon which the education system is built. It seems like all that time, or at least a significant portion of that time, could be directed towards, studying a different language, studying any other language? I don't know. That's just maybe one of the causes for the very American-centric viewpoint that a lot of Americans have, but that's all right. At the end of the day, it's what makes us so interesting. Makes us good tourists, that's for sure. We do have a grunt in the background. Was this the same hero grunt? I think this was the same hero grunt that got that metal extractor, and it is well into the back line of the blue player here, causing tons of damage. I mean, it's killed a few windmills, but early on into the game, those windmills are much more important than later on, and this grunt has actually gotten well more than it's worth here. 3 chevron hero marching into the back line. It's going to move northwards. Ooh, it's actually going to scout an air start up north. This could actually be really huge. Once you know where an air player is, you know the lane that's going to be weak, and Kadamo is currently stalling quite harshly here, actually. Yep, if we can harass this air player, things are going to get bad. Ooh, we missed the metal extractor. That's unfortunate. Oh no, we stalled APM here. We almost had a beautiful thing, but unfortunately the hero grunt will fall without killing either one of these. Would have loved to see one or the other chosen here, but ultimately would have loved to see a little bit more damage in total. That's alright though, but it does mean that Kadamo has been spotted here. I believe we have the intelligence. I should actually double check how much of that we saw. If we check the red team's view, yes, okay, so we are aware of this player being an air start. That's very, very important. Meanwhile, Ace Babar is pushing forward, trying to secure this. Going to be running right up against Klepek here, our 17 true scale purple player, and that's going to be an interesting matchup. Space Cadet marching forward. He's on a secret mission in uncharted space, and ready to march forward and claim some of that for the infinite war. If you can hold on through that many references in a single sentence, well, you might be a perfect fit for the Brightworks, and we'd love to have you. Feel free to join by hitting that subscribe button down below. Nailed it. Anyways, we have tons and tons of units out now. Are these grunts? So we'd love to see these pushed up to the front. We'd actually have a tremendous push down here if, who was that year? Utit. If Utit decided to go for a little bit of aggression, they actually could end up doing a tremendous amount of damage. There is a grand tumble, a humble total of 3 blitzes out on the field here for the hot pink player. Rickabus stalling on something at the moment. Looks like energy, although everyone's kind of hit by that energy drain because of these wind speeds here. But I did notice we do have some bots out and about, or rather some vehicles out and about on the field, and I would love to see those starting to eat up these these tree mills, these natural windmills, if you will, just like our light pink player here, Silver Hornet, is doing with these resurrection bots. Going to be giving you quite a lot to look at, and there's a video that should have come out long before this one, where I showed you exactly how I love to play Flats and Forest with some Reclaim bots. Go take a look at that one if you haven't, because it's going to give you some perspective on just how powerful these Reclaim bots can be. Just to give you a rough number, when these things are reclaiming, it's about 60 energy per second. It's like 57, 58, which is really, really good. And when they're reclaiming, that means that your economy is kicked up by that much more, which means that you can pump out those early units that much faster, and you don't have to build as many windmills, while still you can get enough constructors out to keep expanding your bases. What does this mean? Well, it means that you can expand a whole lot quicker. You can start making constructors a whole lot quicker. Basically, the entire game is sped up by that. So that's something to always keep in mind. Those Resbots eating up those forests can do a tremendous amount of work for you. Never underestimate them. Oh, I didn't even notice, but we have Legion enabled. How interesting. We do have Legion commanders out and about on the field. I was going to say, what in God's green earth is this abomination, this affront to man? It's a centaur, of course. The Legion scout unit, I guess. The Legion raiding unit. I think it's a raiding unit. Let me get a nice little view of this bad boy. This cute puppy. Yeah, so we've got the Legion units enabled here. I didn't notice because they look a lot like Cortex. Look at the cute little faces on these guys. How adorable. How adorable. Okay, so we've got Legion on the field. That definitely changes things, shakes things up a little bit. We have a lot of units following around this grave robber here. I think we don't really need that many. Coda here could definitely be going for a little bit more metal extractor power. We've got 2 unclaimed metal extractors back here, which definitely should be claimed, especially since Legion has these really terrible metal extractors. They pull a little bit less metal out of the ground, but they produce a little bit of energy. So, you know, it's a trade-off, but certainly we should be upgrading to the better ones here. You can see we can go to these overcharged metal extractors, which actually cost a bunch of energy, but they produce slightly more. I think it's 1.5 times as much metal, which is super beneficial. You can get some super powerful armies here. Also, these medium rocket bots, very, very powerful. They launch these really far-reaching and high damage rockets. You can see the range on those guys is tremendous. Very powerful unit. I'd love to see those finding a front line and beginning to lay siege. Encino Potato has marched forward with the Armada bots here, going to be using the maces, the pawns, rocketeers, all those good friendly bots that we're very well aware of. Utit has failed to scout properly here, so we're not really well aware of just how underpowered the enemy's army is. I'd love to see a radar dish come up anytime soon here on the front line. We can see actually the radar range is quite low. Here, oh, I accidentally keep toggling this. There we go. We can see the radar range actually can barely reach across the river here. Would have been quite beneficial to you for UT tier to have that radar knowledge that there's actually not a big enough army to stop or run by or something of that measure. Are there any Legion players for the blue team here? We already have a T2 lab out here, a T2 vehicle lab for 2 good for all, going up to those T2 metal extractors. That's really nice to see. 10 minutes into the game, that's quite fast. We do have another Legion player up here. The purple player, Klepek, is going to be a Legion player. And they're going to start moving these railguns forward. They're quite powerful. They're like an early game sniper, you kind of think of them as. They have plenty of range. They have a really, really slow fire rate. But yeah, they can definitely do some work. I think they're probably going to need more... yeah, their line... Oh no, they actually don't need line of sight help. Their line of sight is 650 and their range is 600. So they actually don't need a scout or anything in front of them. They can just... they're entirely independent. That's very nice. Usually I think of these as sort of a artillery unit, but I guess that's not really the case with these ones, is it? More and more railguns are coming up here. Kodamo, for having not been punished essentially this entire game, has a surprising lack of stuff. This air lab is quite expensive. We have no energy converters here, tons of metal and T1 solar panels. Where we've found ourselves... Oh, and we have a vehicle lab too. Goody goody, yeah, we have tons of metal on the ground and not in our economy, producing more metal as it were. And that means that we're going to start falling behind here. Railguns do eventually break this heavy laser turret. They can outrange it, I believe. Yeah, the laser turret shoots at 620. The railgun shoots at 600. Sorry, so they don't outrange the laser turret. The laser turret outranges them. They can see farther than the laser turret can, though. Laser turret can only see a line of sight here of 494. So that's interesting. Our 2 Cortex engagements are going to be up north and down south. UT has not been slow about building more units. More, and I love to see it. Ooh, we are accidentally flying our fighter wall. Well, at least one of these fighters was flying into the anti-air range here. This Thistle was shooting down some of these fighters. If you can get underneath the enemy's air wall, you might as well always take the opportunity to do so. It's going to be very beneficial. Now, I do spy a bombing run charging up at the moment. Speaking of charging up, we have some batteries queued up as well. Seems like a weird use of energy, but I guess it's fine. On a grander scale, Silver Hornet is starting to turtle up here. We have an agitator that's been built on... Well, I'm calling it the front lines, but really the green team has complete control over way more of the green team. The blue team, the green players, all... Oh, wow, yeah, it is actually all the green players. Every shade of green here. Coming out down south. And they have total control of the entire bottom half of this map. I would love to see one of them teching out here. Maybe Space Cadet could invest in some futuristic sci-fi technologies and go for those T2 units. I'd love to see that. Just hand them out to the other shades of green to your left or right. Better yet, even left and right. Meanwhile, the bombers are heading out, and they are going to be moving up north, trying to do a little bit of damage. This would be a very ideal target here. You could actually do a tremendous amount of work by blowing all of these clustered up railguns to smithereens. Although the railguns are actually an anti-air, believe it or not. They can shoot up into the skies. Very dangerous. You have to be careful about that. These bombers could have been in a whole lot of trouble. Bombers are spotted by 2 good for all. Klepek moves in, or not Klepek, rather, Kodamo moves in with the fighters. Ooh, the bombers are mismicroed. They could have absolutely wiped out that entire wind production right there. That would have been a devastating hit to this purple player. Instead, they are going to target the front part of this lab. That's kind of an odd spot. And ultimately, those bombers do not get very much of an effect. Yeah, they definitely could have done way more damage right here. Could have done a tremendous amount of damage to the build power back here. But instead, we decided to go after the laser turret. So kind of a questionable decision there. I think definitely could have done with some scouting before sending those bombers in. That might have been a little bit better. All said and done, though, not like that was a terrible risk. Or terrible lack of resources, rather. Klepek is going for a few of these kamikaze drones. These are really weird. You you move them wherever you hit attack is basically where they'll try and kill themselves to drop on. Here, I guess I won't spoil it. I'll just let you guys see. So when they die, they have this explosive charge on them, and they crash and burn into the ground. They're definitely difficult to deal with because normally you deal with fighters by shooting them out of the air. But if you deal with these by shooting them out of the air, suddenly you have a raining death cloud falling on top of all your units. It's really weird. Medium rocket bots finally finding their siege. They want to break this front line, as well as some of these lobbers that want to throw down some of those plasma projectiles. This army will go unsupported, and that does mean that it will be mostly mopped up. There are T2 vehicles out now for Rickibus, who is now shelling away with the Mauser on the front lines here, probably confusing the absolute hell out of Insano Potato, who is trying to figure out why there is suddenly this T2 artillery shelling it down upon him. It is not good, sir. It is a humble Mauser there for your misfortune. Middle of the map, another engagement by L Beast here, as some thugs engage some brutes. Not a great trade for those thugs, though, as those brutes are organized quite nicely. There's also some rocket bots contributing a little bit of long-range fire support. Very, very good to see, but there are some reinforcing brutes pushing forward from Bobble T-Man, or Bobbled Man. Not sure how to pronounce that one, but either way, those reinforcing brutes will be more than enough to wipe out this T1 army. 15 minutes into the game, and we're still jam-packed full of T1 units. What on earth is this? There's a massive, massive lane leading right into the heart of the red team's economy centers here. I mean, you could really get anywhere with this lane that is completely open, and I have no idea why this isn't scouted out yet. Currently, the blue team has... yeah, they have vision in that area. They should understand that that is definitely an open pathway. Same here. Insano Potato actually has a tremendous open path as well. The red team has done a terrible job of setting up a complete front line. So they have all these gaps that can be exploited here, which is going to be a tremendous pain for the red team to deal with if more and more units are shoveled through there. Indeed, it will be a game-ending pain if it's not handled properly. Meanwhile, our red player, Babar, Ace Babar, has set up a T2 facility on the front line. So that is quite nice to see. Those T2 units are going to start shelling away at those T1, what are they called here? Those T1 Legion units. I'm forgetting the name of the faction. Oh, we do have the Napalm Gatling Artillery coming up, though. Oh, I guess this is a T2 Legion factory, so I should say that this is a T2 versus T2 fight. These Gatling Artillery, though, you can see just how huge the range on this thing is, and the artillery is a napalm burst, so whenever it fires, it leaves behind a little smolder of fire, and any unit that steps inside of it is going to take damage over time. So these can be really, really tremendous. You can sort of think of these like a they're almost like a better version of a tremor. They're like a tremor that leaves an after effect. They just can't arc their fire just as high. Oh, actually, if you look at that, you can see the icon is almost the same. Well, it is the same. It's the tremor icon. A lot of those are repurposed off of the Cortex logos, so wouldn't be surprised about that. Just want to check in on this fight down south. Looks like it's kind of become a stalled out frontline siege here, as a bunch of agitators are trying to fight off a bunch of Mausers. It's not going to be a very efficient way to deal with that, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. Meanwhile, I want to keep my eyes also up north on this thing, because I want to show you guys how dangerous this thing is when it fires. Now, there is a Starlight out, which is a tremendous option as far as range goes. You can see with a range of 950, it rivals the Gatling Artillery with a range of 1,100, but the Gatling Artillery starts to shell away, and you can see the little projectiles it shoots deal damage over time. Starting to burn away at these units here. Yeah, suddenly this entire area is covered in a field of flame. We must have reverse gear enabled as these the Starlight begins to back up here. And that's it. That's all she wrote, folks. That's all she wrote for the Napalm Artillery. I'd love to see this all being eaten up. It looks like we do have a unit on that. The yellow player definitely could have taken advantage of that too, though. Get a single resbot or something out there and start eating up these corpses. You're going to be able to pump out T2 units a whole lot faster. Things are going to look a lot better for you. Meanwhile, we can also eat up our T1 lab, since we don't need that anymore now that we have our labs on the front here, or eat up the vehicle lab. Either way, I would actually like to see some resbots out of this T1 lab, so maybe don't eat that one up quite yet. But get some more build power and start scaling up, and you're going to be in a tremendous position here. Insano Potato pushing forward, tripping over my words as I rush to cover what's happening down south. A bunch of Centurions leading the push here, trying to take down this agitator. Not a very good spread on these, but it won't matter. There's just enough mass. Looks like the forces of Space Cadet are going to join in here. and all of them are going to consolidate into a devastating push, wiping away Silver Hornet. I would definitely say this push justifies the sacrifice of the commander if we were going to combo him. The reason being, of course, that this is two armies. These are armies from two different players that have teamed up here in an attempt to overrun you, and so if you can wipe out two armies with a single combo bomb, it's definitely going to be worth it. There's the D-guns, but the commander still goes down, and that hurts. That hurts a lot. That's going to be the most of Silver Hornet's production. We have a single constructor here set to repeat build a bunch of windmills. Not quite sure about that one. That's a bit of an odd order, but yeah, we do have the option to rebuild into this game, but it's going to be significantly harder here. Our team is going to have to cover for us. Rickabus and Coda are both going to have to cover. Meanwhile, we do see some railgun spiders are out and about, and they're getting ready to line up for a shot. Also see some shotguns. They have the Gauss cannon. They also have something on their shoulder, interestingly enough. Not sure what that is. Well, anyway, shotguns moving forward. They fire the same cannon as the same cannon that the Juggernaut fires. Ooh, those rail spiders do a lot of damage. Almost bursting down a single Centurion in a couple hits here. For a bot, that's pretty good. Is it comparable to the sniper? I guess it's like a sniper, but it can fire a little bit faster. It's kind of its deal. It does tremendous damage to these other bots, though. The Centurion was managing to stand up to a couple shots, but these maces certainly just melt away when a couple of those shots land on it. Very nice. I really like that bot. That's quite important. Arbiter, just a regular Arbiter. Arbiter we know and love. Yeah, I think these railgun spiders are probably a pretty great option here. Oh, look at that animation there. Oh, a little detached, but still very cool. Yeah, I like that quite a lot. That's actually, they've got a really good art style on that. I think that looks quite nice. So I noticed that these have a shield until they take enough damage. I wonder if that's like a condition that increases their armor or something. I don't see anything. I'd love to know if that increases their armor against attacks or something like that while they have the shield, and then after it gets knocked out of their hands, it suddenly becomes ineffective. I'm not sure exactly, but that seems interesting. Multi-weapon heavy assault tank up north here. We can see it has two of those heat rays and one massive lobber of a cannon. You can see the AoE on this cannon is tremendous. Looks like a T2 push came through here and did take down the Inferno, the rapid-fire Gatling plasma artillery. Oh, but it looks like there has been some retaliation as a bunch of these Tiger tanks push forward, devastating some of the economy here for Ace Babar, who is actually trying to rebuild desperately here. The T2 factory did go down, and ultimately, things are looking a little bit shaky up north here. Now, luckily for Ace Babar here, Kodamo is not interested in participating in that fight whatsoever. We are just going to be going straight up to T2 aircraft, teching in the back line here. It is an odd map to be teching on, but I suppose you gotta do what you gotta do. Meanwhile, T2 is out as well for Sevizara here, our brown player. One true skill to their name and one chevron to their name. If I had to guess, I think this player might be brand new, or they're smurfing, because I don't know how on earth you even managed to have a one true skill. I think you start at like 17 or something like that, so I have no idea. Anyways, taking a look at the overall match layout here, and it seems like we kind of have two technology giants in the north and in the south, but for different teams here. We can see that, well, I guess this technology layout is basically the same, with T2 out on the field for all players involved on the front line here for the red team and the blue team up north. Yeah, with Too Good for All finally getting some T2 units out. Held in reserve, though, is Kodama, who's just turtling up like a madman. He's going to be so unhappy when he watches one bull just roll right through this. Ooh, he's going to be so upset, so unhappy. That is going to be absolutely devastating to that poor man. Oh, yep. Let's target the windmills. No, okay, we're not going to target the windmills. We're absolutely heart and mind set on taking down this player back here. We are going to eventually... Oh, no, never mind. I spoke too soon. I was going to say we are eventually going to be able to take out their build power But it's not the case. Looks like we're actually going to target everything but in the meantime. The only way that they could get fighters out is using that build power, and it's the one thing we're going to spare. We are stalling on metal at the moment. Oh no, we're stalling on build power, yeah. Okay, well now the build power finally goes down. And that is going to be the end of Kodama, who is now realizing why it is incredibly difficult to go for that air start. Impossible? No. But difficult? Absolutely. Bad idea? 100%. The green team has had control over the majority of this map for the majority of this game. They definitely are in the running here to win this. The only thing holding on for the red team is two things. Two things. One of which is the fact that there is basically zero aggression anymore out of the green team, or out of the green players rather. For some reason, I couldn't tell you. Meanwhile, there's still technology happening in the backline, and it's really easy to stagnate in these games. Like you can see, Space Cadet is finally starting up T2 economies, but it's pretty late into the mid game for that to be happening. Same back here for UT, who is also very, very late to the party here, still pumping out T1 grunts and rocketeer, or aggravators rather, over on this side. But things are not looking great up on the front line because we barely have a T2 economy set up. We are finally getting those T2 metal extractors set up, and I think that's really, really nice. Just a little bit late. Meanwhile, the barely mobile heavy heat ray has been killed on the front lines. We've decided to collapse on this with all of our bots and try and wipe out this army in one fell, swift maneuver. Are we going to reclaim, though? Because that's really the only reason why you would take this aggression, is if you wanted to eat up all this metal. It doesn't look like the answer is yes, so I have to say, what was the point of using those units in that way? Here we have some more aggression down here. I guess it's Sano Potato managed to inspire UT to actually start moving some units in, but the Bulls and the Mauser are already out, and we all know how absolutely demonically devastating those units are. They can tear apart basically any T1 with a swift and just maneuver. Ooh, those medium tanks ran right into those medium mines, and there's a reason they're called that. They're just perfect for shutting down those medium pushes. Wipes out a huge amount of those medium tanks and actually softens up the rest of them pretty nicely. Meanwhile, the push has gone in from the yellow team, or the yellow player rather, deciding to counterattack rather than deal with the units that are rapidly approaching the backline here. And we're going to use our brutes here to try and break this entire front line. Sheldon's move in for some more fire support, and eventually this heavy laser turret will fall, despite the best efforts of a constructor over here trying their very best to keep it alive. Yeah, this line is broken. Now, some reclaim, again, would be really, really nice. If we turn on our super metal vision, we can see there's 5,000 metal lying on the floor there, 7.5 thousand metal there, and almost 1,000 here. To be fair, though, UT is eating up metal off the front lines, so that is quite nice. The Bulls were finally addressed, and it looks like we rushed straight up to T3 with the orange player back here, secluded behind Ace Babar and XRGX. And so with this technology out and about now, 27 minutes in the game, and we've got T3 up and running. Will it be enough to settle the score here? A lot of damage was done with these units pushing through the middle here, but honestly not as much as I would have liked to see. Yeah, I mean, for using a bunch of Tigers in this way, that's kind of expensive. And actually, I think I would have liked to see a little bit more damage, yeah. Yeah, we could have spread those a little bit better, maybe targeted a little bit better. And ultimately, we could have scouted a little bit better. I think that's really what's holding this team back, is the fact that they don't have information about where the enemy is. Really, really important that you get that scouting information, because otherwise things are going to stagnate quickly, and you're not going to be confident enough to push in anywhere. You're going to run into a lot of problems. Meanwhile, more of these railgun spiders are produced and moved out here. Wow, those are really expensive. 900 energy, but 900 metal, but 18,000 energy. Super, super energy dense. You're going to need a crazy economy. Yeah, I guess that many T1 solar panels is going to do it. Looks like we... Oh, wow, we're building these pop-up flamethrower turrets here. It looks like we don't know about those overclocked extractors. Never mind. We do know about them. Whoa, Nuke landed here right in Ricky Bus's base. I wasn't paying attention for a split second, and just like that, Ricky Bus is completely wiped off this map. Nothing but his units to remain here. We're gonna have to see this commander get real creative if they want to hold on to the bottom lane. Where did that nuke come from? I'm tracking, I'm smelling it out and sniffing out the nuke. There it is. Right there, you can see that chevron indicating that it must have gotten a bunch of kills here. Very, very nicely done by Too Good For All, sending in the nuke. And wow, this game, I mean, you might notice this game looks a little bit stacked here. The higher true skills are on the red team, and it is still caving, collapsing, crushing, and falling down here. Although I will say there's a daunting push through the middle here. It looks like a bunch of fiends have gotten some tremendous value, as well as maybe some grunts that were there for fire support, as well as a little bit of just a little bit of health. You know, they got a tanky build to them. You might as well use it. The Tiger army is rolling out. Too Good For All is looking to do critical damage with this army. It needs to take out a player, essentially. That's essentially what we're looking for here. Oh, these Tigers are about to roll right into a minefield, though. Ooh, when they do hit the mines directly, a whole bunch of these are going to struggle really hard to get through this minefield, and they will be caught. Almost the entire northern contingent of these Tiger tanks was blown up there by those medium mines, showing you just how powerful those can be, how efficient they can be to take those down. Bring what was essentially an unstoppable force well within reason. I wouldn't call that beyond all reason. Meanwhile, the Marauders push forward. Ooh, the blue player's economy does go down, all but a single advanced energy converter. Oh, are we going to be thorough? I was wondering if we were going to go after it with the Marauder, but it will continue to stand here. So at least for the time being, Klepek does have a steady 3,000 energy per second that cannot be spent anywhere around here. A nuclear bomber just dropped a nuke on these tanks here, and I think we killed the commander. I'm not sure if that was intentional. I don't know if the nuke actually killed the commander, but certainly the nuclear bomber was involved with that accident there. And we need to target the build power first and foremost, shut down those Marauders. I do like this as well. We do have some. We do have some of the tigers. That's the Winnie the Pooh tiger. We have some of those pushing forward here. We also wrapped on the southern side here as well. Very, very nicely done. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. Too Good For All has managed to get the value that he was looking for out of these. Oh, the pop-up flamethrower turrets, though. He's got to be confused as all hell why there are so many flamethrower turrets back here. Definitely wasn't expecting that. We do have the Strider out and about now. Striders are a very powerful assault unit. See those twin Gatling guns that can do a tremendous amount of damage. Wow, and we get a perfect unit trade. Strider versus Tiger. That's funny. Tongue twister, if you will. Or even if you won't. Oh, a single Marauder in the backline, though, does manage to take down all of Good For All's energy conversion here. And so suddenly, this has become a huge problem. A single Marauder was left unchecked back here, and you can see just how much damage it did, turning into a Silver Star General as it starts to tear apart the economy. Yep, it's going to start firing, and it can fire super quick. You can see that experience racking up here makes this thing super, super powerful. Those are anti-air vehicle, my friend. Not going to cut it. Ooh, it's close. The Marauder just barely goes down before this advanced fusion reactor goes up. That was a crisis averted, if I've ever seen one. That was inches away from absolute annihilation. Total annihilation, if you will. Tiger tanks are moving back in to continue harassing this T3 production facility, but there are more Marauders steaming out as fast as they can, and that is going to eventually mop up that huge push that was done by the blue player here. Now more Marauders are moving forward offensively, continuing to stream through this northern pass here, and there's no units to deal with this. It appears that Kodamo has switched into T1 vehicle production. Very, very late into the game for T1 vehicles. I definitely think it's about time that we start thinking about T2 at this point. Your teammates are kind of relying on you to get that tech up and out and as quick as possible, too. Second nuke was shot down by an anti-nuke somewhere along the lines. Ooh, looks like a contingent of fighters as well as a Nuke B are headed into the enemy base. I would love to see these get some value. That's one way that we could apply a little bit of pressure here on the front lines. Nuclear bomber thinks that there's actually a geothermal there, but it hasn't even been built yet, and so unfortunately will not get anything important here. Nuclear bomber will move along as it tries to find a better target. Oh, that's a better target. Yep. Right on the well, technically on the build power, but right next to the fusion reactor. Now, the nuclear bomber does go down, but it destroyed all that build power, which was absolutely critical to helping El Beast 2 get back in this game. It looks like that Marauder push was held, by the way. It looks like the forces of Klepek 024, as well as Too Good For All, our blue and purple players, have managed to shut them all down. Advanced fusion reactor did finally die here as well, so I wonder if that might have killed very, very many of them. Very, very many of those Marauder. This is a weird match. This is very, very odd. There's so many open lanes here. I mean, there's a complete direct access path straight through this entire part of the map, down to the back line here, down to the back line here. Everyone who's anybody is crowded into this corner right here. We've got a massive production facility from the orange player. We're building up Razorbacks. We're probably going to save those up for a little bit of a push. I wouldn't mind if we maybe went for a Titan next. A really good composition. I mean, obviously it's T3, right? But a really good, really solid composition. Just covers all your bases as a single Titan accompanied by 2 battle mechs, 2 of these Razorbacks. The Razorbacks can shoot up into the air, so if there's any, you know, shuriken or anything like that, or just bombers or EMP bombers, anything like that, they're going to be able to shoot that down. But also they can deal with that T1 spam on the ground, right? If they're sending a whole bunch of ticks, a whole bunch of pawns, a whole bunch of grunts, any of that sort of stuff, the Razorbacks are really, really good at mopping up very quickly. Insano Potato says, anyone got good bombers? One of your players had good bombers at one point. Kodamo had the T2 Air Lab out and about at some point, but has instead decided to tech into a ground army. Probably not a bad idea since we're going up against a ground opponent. Very, very nice to see there. Let's get some music in here, please, Ryan Krause. Ryan Krause, the composer for all of the Beyond All Reason soundtrack. I think it's all of the Beyond All Reason soundtrack. There might be some other songs, maybe, but as far as I'm aware, Ryan Krause is the mastermind behind not only the song Mastermind, but every other track on this, or every other song on this track, rather. Tiger tanks are down here to try and again mop up these Marauders. The Bulls are much closer to the Marauders in metal cost. But the Marauders and the Tigers are a much wider distance. You can see 665 versus the 970 per Marauder. So, yeah, the Marauders are definitely a league of their own. Now, we are throwing tons and tons of Marauders in here, which does mean that there's going to be a lot of metal to eat up here eventually. Marauder are going to be happy to start shooting down that Tremor. Tremors are very expensive, and so taking them down is always a decent trade here. Marauder eventually gets shot down before it can get up to this advanced fusion reactor. That was definitely its target there. A couple of Marauders still sweeping into the back line here, though, and they're going to start tearing down the economy of Bobble Tea Man. But they're also going to probably walk into the direct line of fire here of Insano Potato. Insano Potato now with a terrible, terrible realization that there's not nearly enough defense in the back line to handle a bunch of Marauders storming forward, and also that we built our energy converters right next to a three wide lane of windmills, meaning that all of them will light up, as well as every single advanced fusion reactor. That was a ton of economy going down right there. The last thing that we have is really these 2 advanced fusion reactors, which I have a feeling might not even be too long for this world. Yep. Marauders will indeed start gunning them down. They hit one of the fusion reactors. The second one is now scuffed up, and a lot of the build power went down when the fusion reactor exploded there. The Marauders, I guess they're going to abandon this base. Nope, okay, they are going to go back and finish the job here. I do like that. The Marauders need to split up a little bit, actually. One of them can't really fire as precisely because the others are up in its grill. But yeah, that's Insano Potato essentially wiped out of the map, or wiped out of the game for now at least. They do have the T1 bot lab up and available though, so we could probably see some res bots built, although our economy has taken a devastating hit here, 384 energy production. Meanwhile, these Marauders cannot be stopped. Yes, the T1 solar panels will fall to the Marauders, continuing to push forward here. Get some more fusion reactors, go ahead and get some more advanced solar panels. Ooh, they go down to the windmill, or to the the light laser turret there, actually. We do see it continuing its rampage. What a madman. I'd love to see these windmills chain reacted, but we won't get it in time. And eventually the Marauder menace is brought down by sheer force of light laser turret. The Razorbacks are moving out now. That's a lot of Razorbacks. 14 Razorbacks, jeez. There's not much in this game that can stand up to 14 Razorbacks. Not much in T2, anyways. Things are looking really, really dire down here as well. There's a ton of these railgun spiders. It's gonna be difficult to push in there. That's a lot of firepower tucked into those Gauss accelerators. The Bulls continue their march, their tirade. Uteet trying to move forward, trying their very best. Those are some beautiful D guns right there, disintegrating a whole lot of those Bulls. I really like to see that. 40 minutes into this game, and we're finally seeing some proper aggression on the other side of the map. It looks like Too Good For All has finally collapsed on top of this T2 production facility here for Merrick. And eventually, I think we're going to get it, although it's putting up a good fight with all those constructors putting it back together while we're disassembling it. Percussive disassembly. Long-range disassembly. So that's what we'll call artillery. Artillery is just a long-ranged hammer. T1 medium tanks have sunk into the back line here of the red players, or the red team rather, and suddenly the middle of their map is completely exposed. Yep, these medium tanks are going to keep moving forward. We built tons and tons of defenses back here. It's like we were prepared to make this last stand from the very start of the game. But I would be failing in my duties as a commentator if I didn't point out that, yeah, this static defense is great for, like, right here. But there is a secret pathway, a secret tunnel through the mountains. Yeah, and you can just slip through on the northern side. You're going to be in a world of... well, the red team is going to be in a world of pain. Should some units manage to push through there. That being said, they've got their work cut out for them. I mean, look at this line of artillery right here. That's very satisfying. We've also got those Razorbacks. Speaking of which, where did those Razorbacks go? Ah, yes, they've completely eliminated the blue player. Very nicely done. That is the top player for the blue team has been completely wiped off the map, save for a couple of metal extractors, an advanced geothermal plant, and some energy converters. Looks like the Razorbacks aren't done yet, though, as they move into Kodamo's base. Ooh, Kodamo misses the D-gun. Ooh, he hits the second one, though, so that's quite nice. That Razorback will go down, but it won't go down without bringing Kodamo to 40%, rather. Kodamo would do well to cloak before trying to engage with this other Razorback. We're going to be wiser here and move the Razorback away. Commander does not even have the energy and will go down. Now this Razorback has free reign to tramp around in the back line here. Suddenly, the red team is on a tremendous comeback page. If we could snipe the last couple of commanders, the last 3 commanders, suddenly we're going to be in a tremendous position here. These Razorbacks doing God's work out here. Oh, this is beautiful. Razorbacks eliminating most of the economy for all of these players. Doing tremendous damage all over the map. Everywhere that you hear laser fire, you hear the blue team dying. And what was inevitably a collapse for the red team has suddenly turned against the blue. Lots of pings here. Lots of pings. The Razorbacks continue their assault, moving towards Space Cadet. Wow. What a Razorback comeback. That's not a comeback, that's a Razorback. A bulwark was built here in an effort to fortify our base, but we have failed to fortify the rear position. Just like myself, failing to fortify my rear, and indeed, Razorbacks are sure to devastate your day. I'm gonna drop that analogy right there. I'm gonna let that die. Meanwhile, Razorbacks are killing everything down here. It looks like Klepek has taken over for the player down south, one of the green players. Instead, going to be trying to deal with this mess, but it's a little bit too late here. As the Razorback has already hit the base, it moves towards the economy, starts lighting up these construction turrets, taking down whatever it pleases. There go the construction turrets, and I don't think it will be long before this Razorback has finished mowing through this base. Meanwhile, Marauders are stepping all around. The medium tanks, the lightning tanks are brought out by Ace Babar, who's now sweeping across the map with them to make sure that every single one of these players is dead. What a comeback. Absolutely beautiful. Koda is trying his very damnedest to hold on to the very bottom of this map here, but the units are continuing to surge forward, and there's only so much that those poor railgun spiders can do. Yeah, the Marauders are just sweeping across the map. I kind of wonder what they're queued. Yeah, they've got these beautiful lines drawn to sweep through, clean up whatever defenses they can find. So many of these gauntlets and agitators everywhere. The total amount of money that's gone into these T1 static defenses is immense this game. Seriously could be in some proper T3 level of tech if we had just invested in that instead of gauntlets. I mean, look at this. Look at how many there are on the screen right now. 9,100 metal worth of agitators. Jesus. That is brutal. This is also brutal as Ace Babar has completely disassembled the back line of the blue team, all except for Kodamo. Kodamo? who is now the only remaining player for the blue team with any sort of technology center. Well, I suppose that's not fair to Klopek, who has been dutifully taking over whatever facilities become available, as few as they are in between. This Marauder needs to target down the commander. I think we're forgetting the win condition of a Beyond All Reasons match is to kill all of your enemy's commanders, and if we can destroy this commander, that puts us one step closer to winning this match outright here. It's one thing to force the surrender, but it's one thing to force the game end, force the win condition here. Man, the blue team, they just had the lead with a clutch defeat from the jaws of victory, and I am very enthusiastically calling it here, because I don't see any way that the blue team is going to come back from this. Essentially, all of their economy has been ravaged to the bone. This last bulwark will fall, and the Lightning Cadets continue their march forward. Marauders have met up now, and I'd love to see them continue to go after Klopek, who has degunned the one that was harassing him, but not before it left the commander at 31%. Meanwhile, the base down here of Coda has fallen eventually to all of these units that were marching forward, but it wasn't before softening them up quite a bit. This flamethrower wall being quite the nuisance here, being sure to stall quite tremendously. We see the commander firing away its little Gauss projectiles. It also has that Gatling gun, so it can do a pretty good amount of damage. I'd love to see it launch those napalm missiles. There it goes. You can store quite a lot of them. 11 napalm missiles. Wow. Yeah, you can actually store a lot of those. It's not done either. Can it just fire those indefinitely? Is that how that goes? Well, either way, it's got a ton of them. It's going to continue trying to fire on these tanks with its railguns, dissuade them as well as it can, but more and more Razorbacks, more and more Marauders are moving out, and Sano Potato and Space Cadet are forced to take refuge on their once safe haven of an island. Geothermal Plasma Battery, despite producing energy, does not have the power to fund its own shots at the moment. Wow, what an absolutely epic comeback here. This is beautiful. The Tigers have found the last remaining base of El Beast, who is trying desperately to hold on to the units that they have, as well as the production facilities that they currently control. Becoming difficult, though. One of the solar panels goes down, and that was basically half of the energy production at the moment. All the build power is in a lot of trouble, too. The Tiger tanks are marching forward, and the build power goes down. Construction turrets melted into their sockets. Nothing remains, nothing left. Huge army of catapults, as well as a juggernaut marching across the map right now. Absolutely epic as they are. Marauders have finally found the base over here, and they're going to start disassembling it, wondering where the hell all these units are actually coming from. They gotta be coming from somewhere, right? Indeed they are. Indeed, there was a forward facility that was built right up against the border of the map here, and you can see that we have T2, as well as T1 aircraft here, and also a T2 bot lab, so that's quite nice. Mammoth standing strong against the Juggernaut, but that's not going to work tremendously. Those are eventually going to be crushed underfoot here, as the Juggernaut is happy to shoot a shotgun blast at close range, where it can do maximum damage, shredding away several percent per shot. It's just its default attack, right? That's its base attack. It's not even its laser, not even the missiles. Just a good old-fashioned default maneuver. You can see it does tremendous work. The last bastions of the green team, and I'm going to speed this up because things are wrapping up here, and I think we've all figured out long ago who's won this match. Yeah, it will not be long before the green team I keep saying the green team, the blue team succumbs to the red armies, the red invasion, as well as the orange Razorbacks. Space Cadet, the last living commander, and we are drawing it out to the very last. Oh, saw some self-destructs there. I thought that might be a resign, but no, Space Cadet will continue to fight on. Bravely, boldly, stronger than ever before. The Razorbacks march up here, and yeah, everything starts to melt away. You can see just how inferior these gauntlets are. They do manage to bring down one Razorback, which frankly surprises me. I didn't even expect that. Oh, it might have been this geothermal battery, actually. That makes a little more sense. The final commander is found. Run, Space Cadet, run! Run for your life! No, please don't run. This is the end. And after what looked like a decisive victory for the blue team, apparently this fortification was well worth it, as the red team was able to clutch out a victory in the end. Hey, thanks a ton for watching. I really appreciate you sticking through to the very end. Feel free to brag about that in the comments. And I hope to see you in the very next video. Peace out.